Okay, welcome to my shop. I'm a little nervous in front of the camera, so I apologize if I stammer a lot or whatever. This is my small little shop. It's really, if you see my blog, you'll see this just a storage unit. A lot of crap from the house stored up on the shelves here. Managed to create a little place to work. The main reason for all of this, grab this real quick. So those right there. So these are my toys. And evidently my across the street neighbor thinks the Sportster, even with basically factory mufflers on it, is too damn loud. And I live in a manufactured home park, so I don't want to get us in too much trouble. This is the one that I actually ride on a daily basis. Even though technically it's the same volume, he doesn't seem to mind this one. Probably he just doesn't like motorcycles, doesn't like Harleys. So that's a Honda 450. That's just an 883 Sportster. That's a 94 Sportster, 86 Honda 450 Nighthawk. And this is my latest acquisition. Needs a lot of work, but it is a 73, we believe. There was some confusion on the title, but CL100, and it needs quite a bit of work, but I have got it running. I got to rebuild the carb though, because it started flooding over right after I got started this last time, and so that hopefully will be my summer project. This was last summer's project, and getting that back on the road was project over the winter. So my shop, that's another project I got going. I got a generator that I picked up dirt cheap because it wouldn't run. It's carburetor issues, and gas tanks missing all the fittings in the bottom, so I got to rig a fitting in the bottom of that plastic tank to the carburetor and get the carburetor, the float needle sticking a little bit. It's flooding over, pretty much like the Honda. Yeah, my poor old workmate that sat out in the barn forever. It's pretty much useless as a workmate. It's supposed to be. The wood here, it's all swollen and split, and it's all rusty and doesn't want to move very well. What I'm thinking right now is that I will actually remove the wood pieces. I know, I'm doing horrible with the camera here. I'll remove the wood pieces, unbolt those, and make a two metal top pieces here. Maybe some angle pieces on the ends with square tube to bolt down here, and a smooth top on each of them, so that I can still use the functions and use it as a welding table, but be able to clamp and everything. My latest acquisition, my Tweco Fabricator 141i welder. I'll set up there. This whole shop has that one outlet. I know I got a lot of stuff plugged into it right now, but it's not all running at once. The welder, everything else gets unplugged when the welder's actually on, because I don't want to blow the circuit, and my fire extinguisher there for safety. There is actually another plug way up there at the light, but that's on the lighting circuit, and I wouldn't want to mess with that too much. I might at some point plug an extension cord in there to get my the light from my workbench and the trouble light there on the same circuit as the lights, take them off of the other circuit so there's less on that. But basically, that's my shop. Not a whole lot to it. I've got a couple of air compressors here. The DeWalt is working now. I picked both of those up for 20 bucks for the pair. DeWalt needed very little work. I still need to work on the air filter is broken off, so I got to get that fixed back up. These couplers leak, so I'll replace those. I have no idea what brand. Everything's faded off. Was given to me as not run in the deal with this DeWalt, but it did actually fire up when I plugged it in after I tweaked with the contactor was sticking. So I tweaked with that a little bit and it fired up, but the problem was while I was doing that I had it on its side and yeah, it's an oil-filled compressor and it blew the oil plug out and oil all over the floor, and it appears to be leaking now. I don't know if it was before, but it appears to be leaking around the compressor head gasket, so I don't know if I screwed something up there or if it already was screwed up. I'll dig into that later as another project when I have time. Little tire changing and balancing setup there. At some point here I need to put the wife's new tires on, which I haven't ordered yet. But I haven't tried any of this out yet. It's cheap Harbor Freight stuff. So I've got the old wheels and tires off my pickup here. I'm gonna, at some point here, I'll videotape it. I'll set these up and give it a shot. See what I can get. You know, do they work properly? Once I verify that they work properly and I know how to use them properly, I will order in the wife's tires and get hers done. This is the original engine out of that 450 Nighthawk. It runs, it just has some issues, and looking at what the parts were going to cost and the time it was going to take to rebuild it, I found a cheap 82 Nighthawk 450 engine on eBay with free shipping from, I think it was Michigan or somewhere back east. You know, it was a steal. The shipping alone being free was that had to be a mistake. He must not have made much profit on that. Anyway, it was only a few $100s. I have lots of cleaning and organizing to do in here. I'm sure you can tell. I have my father's old oxyacetylene setup. That's really the only real welding I've ever done. You know, I have very low welding experience, so you're going to get to see me learn to weld using only the resources I can find online, mainly YouTube. My father started to teach me how to use this something like 25 years ago when I was still in high school, and I ran maybe 2 or 3 3 or 4 inch beads with it at that point, and hadn't touched it since till here this winter. I broke the hinges started to break on the gas grill we have outside at the house, and so I wanted to fix it, and contacted my mother. She said, "Hey, your dad's welding stuff is probably still out there in the barn," so I went and grabbed those. Got the acetylene tank was empty, but still plenty of oxygen in it. Swapped out the acetylene tank and brazed up the hinges. Didn't actually weld, so that was about a total of 2 inches of brazing. That's not very much, I know, but it went successfully, so we're good to go there. It's nice and strong. And when I got the fabricator in and got it set up, I did test the stick function, and it's actually remarkably easy to light up. You know, it struck an arc on my first try. This is 2 separate beads, one overlapping the other. And I know they look like crap, but I have never stick welded before this, so I'm actually fairly happy that it went as easy as it did. And I didn't clean the metal up or anything. It's got something sticky over here. There's a little bit of surface rust, and yeah. So this wasn't prepped, cleaned, or anything, but ran a few. This is a total of 3 beads overlapped on each other here. There's one down the first one was down the middle, and then I ran this one, and then I ran that one. Or was it this one and then that one? I think it was this one, then that one, and ran this one with the MIG function. And I have 70-25 or 75-25, and then I have straight argon for the TIG function on the Tweco. It has MIG, stick, and TIG. Well, evidently I reached reached a maximum file size or something there, because the recording stopped for a second. Anyway, MIG TIG stick functions on the Fabricator, and I will do a full review of that after we find out how the whole story comes out. There were some issues there, and I've been dealing with customer service, and you can see some of them on my blog, but I will go into and do a full review on the welder and give the whole story on video when that kind of plays out, and I know for sure if they're going to live up to their word and everything's going to come out the way it is. Anyway, so again, no prep, but I thought I'd see if my welds were penetrating enough to be strong. So this was the last weld I did. I just ran down here, and there's a big buildup at the end because I left a pit and when I stopped, and so I didn't hold it on spot long enough and left a little pit there, and so then I went back in and filled it in. Probably didn't do too much because it didn't penetrate. That was one of the first places it started to break when I picked this thing up and started slamming it on the ground after it had cooled off to test the weld. And you can see the weld itself held, except for the very edges, and it tore the metal around it. So I think it's doing pretty good. That's a good 1/8" wall on that stuff. So I'm happy, for running off of I don't even know what size breaker is in there. I don't have a access to the breaker panel. That's in the owner's shop, which is kind of across the way here. So these were actually done. These were done at a low setting, which is partly why I was surprised it struck an arc so easy. Is because I had it turned way down because as I was doing this, I was slowly turning it up until this bead and this bead were done at full voltage, full wire speed, full inductance, running 023 wire on the MIG function, because according to the door chart, that's what you need to run for 023 wire on the thickest metal it'll run, and that should be the heaviest it can handle on a 20 amp circuit, which is what I suspect that is. Anything higher than that, you need a 30 amp circuit. You need to rewire the cord with a 10-3 instead of 12-3, and yeah. So, and like I said, I have no idea what the breaker is, so I wasn't going to push it any harder than that. I do have, with it, I purchased quite a few replacement tips for the MIG gun. I've got 023 MIG wire, 030 MIG wire, 030 flux core wire, 3/32 6013 that came with some sample sticks, 4 sample sticks, and it came with, oh yeah, that's really all it came with. I bought some more 3/32 6013 and 3/32 7018, and there's somebody gave me some old 3/32 6011. Supposedly by the manufacturer, this thing will not run that properly, but yeah, it was given to me by an old timer, so I don't even know how old those sticks are, if they're even any good anymore. That's my brazing wire for the oxyacetylene rig, and I got some stuff to dip the MIG tip in to keep the splatter from sticking. Got my benches set up last time I was out here. Not much. Cheap Harbor Freight bench there, but it comes with a light underneath and a 3-outlet plug on the side, which gives me the ability to run that to the extension cord to the single outlet over there and be able to plug my tools in over here without having to run all the way over there. Yeah, that's about it. Started hanging stuff on the wall because all this was cluttered all along this floor here. And a couple weekends ago I was in here working on the wife's timing belt and water pump replacement and made a little bit of a mess, but I don't have a broom to clean this up, plus the splatter from welding in here. So it's getting a little dirty, but not too bad. Alright, well, the goal for today Let's stop this.